this amazing project. Oh, sorry, Emily, I should have said we're going to be recording this. Let me start again. I'm Tara Cox, Assistant Director of Programs at the National Girls Collaborative Project, and I work with SciStarter on this amazing project, Libraries as Community Hubs for Citizen Science. Our goal is to try to build a library capacity to introduce their communities and engage their communities in citizen science. So we're really excited to have you all here today to learn more about that. I am joined by Emily Early, Senior Network Manager at the National Girls Collaborative Project and also Network Manager for this library network that we're developing. And Robin Salthouse, former public librarian and our library expert at SciStarter, helping us really tailor and speak to the needs of libraries. We also have Darlene Cavalier on the line. Welcome, Darlene. Darlene is the founder of SciStarter, and we have Dan Laxman from our evaluation team and Darren. We have a full house today from our internal team, so welcome to all. As we're getting started, many of you are already doing this. Please drop your names, locations, organizations in the chat. We're excited to see where you're joining from. How many of you are from libraries? You might be from other community-based organizations. Keep that chat going, and we really like to answer questions. Robin's here, Emily's here. As we're each presenting, we're happy to answer your questions in the chat, so feel free to drop questions in throughout. So what are we going to be talking about today? We are going to be talking about these new citizen science resources that we've developed over the last couple of months. Our last webinar together as part of the library network was in April, so we took a little bit of time off, re-envisioned, re-edited our website, updated some of our resources, and we're just going to be launching those again, as well as kind of onboarding you to some of the things that we've already been doing regarding citizen science. If you've never heard of citizen science, that's okay. We can point you to lots of different resources for all levels of engagement. Robin's going to go through those new kits and the two new themes that are being released. And then Emily is going to take you through our updated website. We got a lot of feedback from you all over the last year. Thank you to those who completed the annual survey, who came to these webinars. We got a lot of feedback from you all regarding challenges with the website, things that you wish that you would see in the kits, and we really tried to take those to heart and make those updates. And then obviously we have lots of time for questions as well. So what is citizen science? Put it in the chat. What comes to mind when you think of citizen science? Let's see what folks think. Some of you might be well versed in citizen science, others might not. Let's see. Oh, monarch monitoring, says Linda. Wonderful. Regular people recording information and observing and sharing with scientists, crowdsourcing, volunteering with professional scientists, science that involves the community. Awesome. That's exactly right. Citizen science is this global movement, which we love because it can take place anywhere across the globe, and it enables any everyday people to collaborate with real scientific research, with scientists to make an impact about things that they care about. And we at SciStarter have developed this National Citizen and Community Science Library Network to help libraries really begin to engage, or even you are already engaging, engage their communities in new ways through citizen science. So that's what we're doing here today at the National Citizen and Community Science Library Network. Emily dropped a link in the chat to join that network. If you haven't joined, we encourage you to just sign up. What that means, we're going to get into that a little bit, but we have lots of resources to share with you. And this network is managed by Arizona State University and SciStarter and the National Girls Collaborative Project. So there's a lot of people involved in this network, and we're here to support you. The goals of this network are, as I mentioned, to really build your capacity as librarians and library staff to become community hubs for citizen science in order to support your libraries to engage in meaningful citizen science or community science activities. And really one of our central goals is to broaden participation in these projects. One of the most amazing things about citizen science is that it broadens who can participate in science. And we know that libraries are anchors in their community and can really help us achieve this goal. And then the ultimate goal of citizen science is to help accelerate and shape scientific research. The library network benefits in particular are to, there's kind of three key areas. One is professional development and training. That's what we're doing here today. We offer live webinars. There is a training, two-part, actually now multiple-part training, self-guided trainings on SciStarter that you can take, that your staff can take. You can get LinkedIn badges to showcase that you've taken this training on what is citizen science and how to become a community hub for citizen science. So that is one big benefit of this network. The other are these turnkey and adaptable resources that we've been developing. We're going to talk to you a lot about them today. We have guides that help you build citizen science kits. We have promotional materials that you can use, bookmarks, rack cards to promote citizen science. And the third is this ongoing community support and this ongoing community of practice. We have a Facebook group. We have a library-specific inbox that we monitor that you can ask us questions or ask each other questions to build that knowledge together and to really share that knowledge amongst this group. So we're excited to have you all on the call today. So going back to those who might not be as familiar with citizen science projects range from a variety of topics across the STEM fields. For example, there is a great project called Stall Catchers that's about accelerating Alzheimer's research. We also have projects focused on measuring the night sky, light pollution, or counting pollinators, as somebody mentioned. On the left are just some really great examples of what citizen science has enabled us to do. So it's enabled us to better understand birding breeding habits, to understand that 50 types of bacteria live in your belly button. How do you think scientists got that information through citizen science? Well, they sent out kits and people swabbed their belly buttons and they sent them back. And that wouldn't have been possible on such a large scale had everyday people not participated in that project. One of our favorites to talk about is that a citizen scientist who was going out and looking for new aurora actually discovered an aurora and got to name that aurora Steve. Aurora are the northern lights. And this last one really does demonstrate that key goal that citizen science helps to accelerate research. In one weekend in 2019, citizen scientists accomplished 2,566 research hours, which was the equivalent of 3.5 months in the lab. So you can see how by participating in these various projects, you are helping scientists accelerate, but also helping them have eyes in more places, right? We all see what's going on in our own communities. We notice when things are blooming earlier or when bird populations have declined. And by contributing to that research, scientists can have a better sense of what's happening globally. There are some key benefits to citizen science. We've mentioned them already. Broadening who can contribute to citizen science, right? Taking science out of the lab and into the community really helps to broaden from young children to older adults across the country and the globe to be able to participate. It enables people to engage with data and interpretation and analysis, which helps them to really understand the nature of scientific thinking. So it's helping folks to become more science literate and then accelerating that important research. So here are some kits that we've developed for libraries to be able to support certain projects and make them more accessible to their communities. So currently, the kits that you may have heard of before, which we released last year, were the Measuring Light in the Night kit, which supports the Globe at Night project, which is all about monitoring light pollution. The Exploring Biodiversity kit, which supports an iNaturalist project to go out and look at your community and take photos of biodiversity. Observing Pollinators, which supports the Great Sunflower Project. Somebody mentioned monitoring butterflies, going out and looking at pollinators and counting them and really helping scientists to better understand what's happening with pollinators. Zombie hunting. I don't know if you've heard of the zombies. These are bees that get infected with a fungus and then they turn into zombie-like creatures. And it's complicated, but look it up. It's really cool. But we need to know where these bees are how they are migrating and how they're showing up in different places. So going out and hunting these zombies and contributing to the data. And then 2 additional kits that you're going to learn about today, one of which was a kit that was developed, but we've updated it, monitoring air quality, which I know is very important for many, many communities, and mapping mosquito habitats, which is another really important public health focused kit. So you're going to hear more about those today. So how do we help libraries? Oh, actually, we're going to get into that in a second. First, let's launch this poll. Have you ever built a citizen science kit? We're curious for those on the line. Let's see, we have 31 people here today, so let's try to get 100% participation in the poll. We're already at 60, that's wonderful. Have you built a citizen science kit before? One of the ones that we've mentioned. All right, let's see. All right, so wow, 30% say they have built a citizen science kit before. That's wonderful, 8 people. 7 people said they haven't, but then 12 people said that they were planning to build citizen science kits. That's awesome. So we have a lot of different levels of experience here potentially. And for those who have built kits, we'd love to have you chat in the and engage the other librarians here, other folks on the call with us, and let us know what went well. What would you change next time? Which kits did you build? What programming did you use to engage the community in those kits? All right. Why did we choose these particular kits? This project is now in its 6th year. I could be wrong about that, but there have been several years that this project has been going on. And it started first in Arizona, where Arizona librarians and folks were asked, like, what projects are meaningful to you? So that's kind of where these themes got started. But overall, these kits were chosen because they can be done almost anywhere. They have long-term citizen science projects that they are connected to, like the Globe at Night project or the Great Sunflower Project. A lot of these kits benefit from special tools that might not be accessible for folks to participate in without those tools. For example, the Measuring Light in the Night kit involves a light meter, and not everybody has a light meter. And so the library building this kit now houses that specialized tool to make it more possible for folks to go and measure the night sky by checking out that kit. So that's really kind of our main goal, is to make these projects more accessible and for folks to come into the library as a place for not just checking out books, but really engaging in other types of learning. Many of the materials in these kits are low cost, and there's not many consumables, so they're not hard to replenish. And these are projects that, as we said, are global and national and really can be done anywhere. So in order to help you build these kits, what we've done is develop these Build-A-Kit guides. And now we have actually websites for each of the web pages for each of the different kits. It's not just the guide, but these guides include all of the supply lists for the recommended materials. They also have bookmarks, wrap cards, flyers, all the promotional materials that you might want to use to promote the kits that you build, and then other general citizen science promotional materials. So Emily put the link in the chat for that, but Emily's going to go through these pages in a little more detail in just a bit. But these are the central place to look for a guidance on how to build these kits. The other things that we find really helpful in becoming a community hub for citizen science and building capacity of your library to offer this programming to the community, not just the kits, but additional things like programming around the kits, hosting staff meetings to talk about citizen science, promoting the online training that we have. We have that self-guided training tutorial. We also have a library and community guide to citizen science. And encouraging other folks at your library to join this network so that multiple folks, whether it's your volunteers or staff, are knowledgeable and engaged with with these resources. And you can do all that by going to SciStarter.org/library. Lastly, I'll just say, we have some recommendations for cataloging and circulating these kits. In each of the Build-A-Kit guides, there are added barcodes, there's kit labels, security tags. We've kind of tried to think of everything a library might need. So you'll see those in the Build-A-Kit guides. Also, circulation recommendations for these kits in general are 2 weeks. We have a borrowing agreement that you can use to tailor and customize so that folks can, have something to sign before they check out the kits if that's what you're interested in. A process for checking in and checking out. We have tried to think of all of these various resources, and these have been researched and vetted and adapted from some pilot libraries across the country that have been checking and building these kits. And this is just this is just a little bit of an overview into these kits. We're going to point you to additional resources of webinars that we did last year on the kits that those 4 themes that we've already talked about. But Robin's going to take you through our new themes today and give you a little bit more of a detailed look on how we might build these various kits. Go for it, Robin.
Yeah, thanks, Tara. Let's look at the first kit, which was actually updated. So if we can have the next slide. The monitoring air quality kit, as mentioned, supports a project called air casting, and we updated it because the instrument used, and it is a required instrument, just like the light meter, it's called an AirBeam 3, and it was updated from the AirBeam 2. And what that instrument does, it measures hyperlocal concentrations of harmful microscopic particles in the air known as particulate matter. And so, as mentioned before, there'll be a Build-A-Kit guide that will help you build this with the requirement to use the AirBeam 3. It is a protocol requirement. And then, of course, you'll get all the access to all the other materials like the activity guide. And then the AirBeam 3 comes with a rechargeable cord and a carabiner clip. So you can clip this instrument to like a belt loop, a backpack, a bike, because it's really encouraged that you move around, you create a route to monitor the air quality that you're interested in learning more about. This project does require downloading a free app from Aircasting. It's not a great picture, but that is a dashboard. And what happens with the app is once you sync this instrument, the AirBeam 3, to the app through a Bluetooth connection, it will provide real-time readings of what you have found as far as particulate matter goes. The AirBeam 3 is $249, and they are available now to order. And again, the Build-A-Kit guide and our new website does provide a link to the Aircasting site for those orders. And then let's find out why it's important to monitor air quality in the next slide. Because by documenting environmental and health data, you have the opportunity to make informed personal decisions and the possibility to affect policy change. So this is a map called Habitat Map, part of the aircasting.org website, and it provides you with, again, the data you collected for your reading, or you can look at what other areas of the country are experiencing at a certain time and place with their air quality. This data might help you decide that, hey, I'm contributing to air pollution along my commute route. Maybe I should start thinking about taking public transportation. Or, hey, my neighborhood has a consistent problem with bad air quality. I need to talk to my municipality leaders and say something needs to be done. And by tagging these readings that you're doing, you can quickly create a group of observations and hard data to show proof that there may be a problem or maybe not a problem with air quality in your area. The other thing that Aircasting did in the last year was to create a web page called aircastingactions.org, and it offers guides and curriculum to better understand and plan air quality monitoring projects. So whether you're an individual a nonprofit agency, or a teacher, you have resources to really plan and carry out a monitoring project and understand, the implications of the findings you received. The next project that we actually introduced this summer was mapping mosquito habitats. This project actually has been around for a while. It also includes and requires an app, as you can see on the far right, and it is provided by NASA, and it's helping understand our environment, not only in this country, but it's an actual global project. But we're focusing on our kit on the mosquito habitat map. And again, the Build a Kit guide provides you with links of the materials you may want to use in your kit. Unlike monitoring air quality, this kit doesn't have specific requirements, but we have suggestions for collecting mosquito larvae and examining it, and even uploading photos through your telephone to the Globe Observer section of mosquito habitats. And in addition to the mosquito habitat app, you can continue your participation with the Globe Observer project by contributing data to their clouds project, land cover, and trees. And we actually have one of the Globe people on our in our webinar today, and they do a great job with other resources for further educating users. They have different programs that they encourage people to participate in. Teresa, you might want to put in the current project that's going on right now. I think it's for the trees. So this is a project that you can really make an impact. In fact, why would you want to observe mosquito habitat and report that to NASA? Let's look at the next slide, please. Because this project helps NASA scientists understand and track environmental changes over time, including the spread of mosquito-borne diseases. And another thing our Build a Kit guide does is suggest programming ideas and connections you might make in your community. So in Maricopa County in Arizona, our vector control, who at the county level, who oversaw controlling mosquitoes, had an educational department who was more than willing to come out to the library and provide outreach and explain the issues of mosquitoes in our county, how to control them, what they were. So it was a great segue to introduce and educate people to getting involved in this project provided by NASA. So again, use the community guide, use our Build a Kit guides to stretch and make connections to these projects. So at this time, I'm going to turn the webinar back over to Emily to explain all the updates we've done with our website. Thank you.
Emily, should we pause just quickly for any questions related to those two kits specifically?
Yep, I was going to say that actually. Thank you, Robin, for the great overview of the two kits. So if we want to take a little pause here, and if you have any questions about citizen science kits, these library kits in general, we're happy to answer them. But if you also have questions about the mapping mosquito habitats and the air quality kits, we can take any of those if you'll add them to the chat. Leah said, is there a general range of prices for the suggested mosquito devices? Robin, you might have a better idea of what the price range is. I know that kit, there's a few different components in it, but I don't believe any of them are too expensive. But
yeah, and again, our Build a Kit guide gives you the links so you'll get up-to-date prices. But I think the most expensive thing is the microscope, and I know I'm pretty sure it's under 50. It's a USB microscope. I think it's under $50, maybe more in the $30 range. But the light meter, which if you give the company that sells that a discount, which we have in our Build-A-Kit guide code is around 200. The monitoring light instrument or monitoring air quality, like I said, is around $249. The monitoring air quality and the light meter are really the only two instruments that you must purchase to follow the project's protocol. The other things are more flexible, and because of supply chain issues these last few years, be more than, you have that flexibility. Don't feel like you have to buy the exact product we suggested. We're just providing guidelines. And in fact, even though we've shown plastic boxes to store these kits in, a lot of libraries are using backpacks or those clear stadium bag storage things to put their kits in to make it more user-friendly in the field. So we're here to give you guidelines. We don't want to dictate that you have to buy certain storage devices or put certain equipment in the kit unless it is demanded by the project itself. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Robin. And Teresa made a great point that the USB, the microscope that's in the kit, is a great option, but there are also plenty of other inexpensive kind of clip-on scopes as well. So I will show this when we look at one of the Build-A-Kit pages in just a moment. But anytime there is a materials list, we indicate, like Robin said, there are a couple of instruments for a few of the projects that are required for the project. And then there are other things that we recommend. We will give you a link to an Amazon option, but you can always source it elsewhere or use something different as long as we haven't indicated that it's required. Thanks, Darren. Are there any other questions about the kits? Okay, I think we'll move on then. If you do have any questions, feel free to add them to the chat. Robin or Tara or another member of our team would be happy to answer them. So as Tara mentioned, as Robin mentioned, we've really spent the summer taking a look at our website and all of the pages that we previously offered to the library network, full of resources for you to help bring citizen science to your community. So we kind of evaluated all of the pages and thought about what was necessary. We also received a lot of feedback last year about the website, so we were able to implement many of those changes to make updates. So I am going to share my screen here, but you'll see on this page of the slides here that the main kind of landing page for these library pages is SciStarter.org/library. You can also access it just from the library, from the SciStarter homepage, which I will show you now. So Tara, I'm going to share my screen. Do you see my screen? Great. So this is just a landing page for SciStarter. So SciStarter.org, as long as you remember that page, that's really all you need to know to get to all of the library related pages. So on this landing page, there is a link up at the top navigation here that says libraries. So if you click on that, it'll take a minute to load for me at least. And then you'll get to the SciStarter.org/library. So this is the landing page for everything library related. If you don't work for a library, there are also plenty of resources here for you if you're building the kits at your whatever your organization is as well. So it's kind of focused on libraries, but there's a lot of resources for other community-based organizations as well. So this landing page, you'll see some options here if you are a member of the general public and you're looking to get to those kit pages where they enter the data from the projects they're doing. They would click here. If you're from a library and you want to find resources, you can click We're also developing a couple of pages for community-based organizations and for project scientists that want to get involved with libraries. So if you click on those, they're still kind of a work in progress, but we are building out those pages. And then the most handy thing, hopefully we hope that will be useful to you, is the navigation on the side here. So this, just like most websites, you can navigate to all the different pages on this kind of micro site of SciStarter. So if you're interested in learning more about the program, if you want to learn more about citizen science in general or contact us, there are some general links here. Those citizen science kits that Tara and Robin went over, those 6 kits, if you click on citizen science kits here, the public can learn all about how libraries are involved in this project, what a citizen science kit is, how they get started, and then they can log their data using these 6 links to the 6 different kits that are offered right now. Or they can click over here on the individual kit that they're, completing the project for and get to, I'll show an example, observing pollinators. They can get to all the information for that kit and scroll down, and there's a place for them to participate and log their data. One of the main things we want to highlight today, though, is are all of these resources for librarians. So there's a general resources for librarians page where it talks about the library network. It talks about events, just like this webinar that we're hosting today. It discusses the kits. And then there's some specific resources here. So join the network. There's a page for library network events. The kit building guide, which I'll go over in just a moment in more detail. There's some general promotional resources, those trainings that Tara talked about for you and your staff. There's a general online training about citizen science. And then there's also a library specific training that you and your staff can take. And then that citizen and community guide to citizen science is also linked on the side here. So that's a lot. There are many pages to browse. We hope after the webinar today, you'll take some time to look through all of these and see what you're interested in. And then just to highlight a few specific pages, we're going to go back to the slides. Tara, if you want to share. So one of the pages that I didn't show you, but I want to go over in a little bit of detail here, is our map of participating libraries. So on that side bar there's a link that says participating libraries. And if you are a library involved in this project, if you are circulating kits, even if you're just hosting programming, anything you're doing at your library, we would love to include you on this map. This is kind of the best way we have an idea of which libraries out there across the country are circulating kits. It's also a great resource for the public. So if they happen upon this page, they can see, oh, there's a library in my community that's actually offering and circulating these kits. So it's really important, if you haven't added your library to this map, that you do so. We invite you to, there's a fairly simple registration form. I believe, let's see, if Robin or Tara could put that in the chat, if they haven't already, this library locations page, we invite you to fill out that form, and then you'll automatically get added to the map here. I think we have somewhere around, Robin could maybe be more exact, but definitely over 100 libraries that are on this map so far, and we know there are many more who are doing this work, and we would love to include you. You can go to the next slide, Tara. I went over these as well, and we've talked about them a couple of times today, but there are those public kit pages. These are really for the general public. If you build a kit, you'll see in the build a kit guidelines that there is an activity guide that you print and include in the kit, and the activity guide sends them to this page. So it will send them here to click on that kit that they're working with, and then that will go through how they enter their data and actually contribute back to these projects. Next slide. So as I mentioned, there are lots of pages full of resources for librarians. There is a link to join the network. So if you haven't done that already, we invite you to join the library network so that you can get on our mailing list. We do put out a bi-monthly, usually newsletter, which we would love to send to you. That includes resources. It includes opportunities like this webinar and other professional development opportunities. We also have a page for Library Network events, which includes Citizen Science Month, which is every April, and we will be hosting some webinars about planning for Citizen Science Month and during Citizen Science Month as well. We have those kit building guide pages, a page for general promotional resources. So we are still kind of working on that page, but there are photo groupings that you can download and use in your advertisements. There are sample ads that you can use, bookmarks, lots of different resources that are turnkey. And then those online trainings and the community guide to citizen science are also linked. Okay, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen to walk you through one of the library Build a Kit guide pages. So previously, let me just pull up my screen here. Previously, we had Build a Kit guides that you could download and use. Those still exist, but we've also built out specific pages on our website that go through exactly in detail how to build each of these kits. So I'll go over the mapping mosquito habitats page, since that's one of the new kits that we're offering. So you'll just go to this kit building guides page on the side, click on whatever kit you're interested in building. And then it has a page that kind of goes over the kit. It also has that downloadable Build a Kit guide. So if you'd rather download something printed out and work with that as you're building the kit, you're welcome to do that. But it includes the supply list here with those example links. So we can actually tell you the cost of the mosquito mapper kit generally. Again, you could probably do it even cheaper than this. So it's about $25 for the magnification tool, and then there's some other small tools. So I'd say this one probably ranges around $60 or something, it looks like. So it has some options for purchasing materials, storage options. We offer some suggestions. Of course, as Robin mentioned, you don't have to use these. You can use other kinds of storage options as well. And then it has all of the downloadable print materials. So that includes the activity guide. We have kit labels that you can print, the borrowing agreement, and then some of the other kits have more downloadable resources. And then we have promotional materials. So there's a rack card, a checkout card, waiting list, bookmark, and a flyer for each of the kits. And that is kind of what these pages look like, but it's really soup to nuts, everything you need to build these kits. And you can either go through this page and it will guide you, or like I said, download that Build a Kit guide if you'd like to print it out and that's helpful to you, you can do that as well. So that is kind of an overview of the website resources and how we've changed the website and made it a little bit more simple to hopefully navigate. If anyone used the website before, which I'm sure many of you did, there were definitely some challenges in terms of navigating all of the pages that we offered. So we hope that this is a more usable format for folks and that you can really access everything that you need to build these awesome kits and to get the public engaged. So I'll stop there and see if there are questions about the website, questions about the kits. Anything we've talked about.
Actually allow folks to unmute themselves if they want to share questions out loud as well. You all should be able to unmute yourselves now.
Great.
If you have any specific questions, we have plenty of time. So there's no question too small. Thank you, Kate. Kate just said, I just added my library. It's wonderful.
I'll take a minute while questions are coming. Oh, there's one question, but I also wanted to plug the Facebook group, which I forgot to mention. I'll put the link in the chat, but we do have a Facebook group. We have about 150 members now that we started just in the spring, so not too long ago. And we would love you to join. We'd love you. It's a great place to ask each other questions. We're still kind of trying to build that group and that community of practice. So if you haven't already, we would love you or your library to join. And if you're building kits, if you're doing programming, you can always ask questions or give each other ideas, things like that.
So Lynn had a question, do libraries generally have one of each kit to lend or multiples? We've seen libraries, there's a variety of models, but I would say that most of the libraries that we've worked with have built multiple kits of varying kinds. There are also in the Build a Kit guides, some suggestions for like a supplemental kit that might have a couple of additional materials. For example, if a Girl Scout troop wants to come and check out the kit, they might need more magnifying lenses or more binoculars. So there could be like a supplemental kit that goes along with each of them. Sarah says we have 4 of each and each one has a different book that goes along with the theme. Love that. Yes,
And
feel free to, oh, go ahead, Robin.
well, I just want to interject that, you know, the point is of these kits is to, you know, provide projects that speak to your community. When I was a librarian in Gilbert, Arizona, people were getting very passionate and concerned about pollinators, especially bees. So the zombie hunting kit was perfect. And then now the observing pollinators. There's a library in Prescott Valley. That librarian has gone even a step further. She is bringing in her own kits based on our model that again are SciStarter projects that speak to her community. So these are certainly a fantastic way to start offering citizen science, but don't feel like you have to stop here with projects. If there's a project, especially that you find on SciStarter, that works for your community, engages them because they're concerned about it and want to contribute to this research, create your own kit and just use our resources to help you develop that new kit.
Absolutely, that's a great suggestion. And I would say, Lynn, too, it might be worth building 1 or 2 kits of a certain theme and then kind of testing the interest before going, you know, before making a larger purchase and building multiple kits.
Yeah.
Also, we've seen regional libraries or library systems build kits and share those as well through a lending program or a community library lending internal systems that many libraries have. Yeah, there's a variety of models. And I think that, you know, these resources are meant to be adapted by your communities. These are just a starting point. And if you have questions on adaptations that you want to make, we are very interested in knowing what adaptations are happening. If there are a lot that are happening in a certain area, that could be a new resource that we potentially develop. Also including follow-up or additional activities before or after. We haven't talked about in this webinar, but that is also part of this model, is hosting an event that maybe brings in a bee expert to talk about bees, and then you know, showcasing those kits to your community and then allowing them to check them out, or engaging with your local Girl Scout troops or 4-H or Boys and Girls Clubs and having them come and check out the kits. Really, these are designed to be extremely flexible and used in almost any kind of environment. And we want to know how you're using them.
Yeah. And if you have a strong Spanish speaking community, several of our kits, including Measuring Light in the Night and Exploring Biodiversity, do offer some Spanish language resources. Observing Pollinators does that to fully, including some worksheets that were developed with the aid of a 1st and 2nd grade Tucson teachers. So we're we're in the process of trying to translate as much material as we can get funding for. I would also encourage you to think about different resources you have in your library, whether it's books on subjects for gardening, for using telescopes, for understanding the night skies, connecting with your amateur astronomer groups. These are all things that will help engage your community and segue into getting involved in an actual research project. Oh, and Teresa, thanks for noting that Globe Observer has 14 languages that in the app. So that's great if you have a very diverse community. And that's who we really want to appeal to as well, is, you know, all the underserved groups that haven't been typically involved in science. So thank you, Teresa, for providing that resource for the Globe Observer app and the projects.
As you can see, you know, we work with Teresa and we work with the other project leaders on many of these projects. And so we're constantly in communication and thinking about additional resources that can help make these projects more accessible. So this is an ever evolving program, and the more we know from you what your needs are, the better we can serve you in the future.
Okay, and I'd like to address Kathleen's question about only being able to circulate.
Absolutely, that's a great question. Go for it.
Yeah, it is. So Kathleen, a low hanging way or low lift way to get involved with citizen science is just to do a book display. And it doesn't have to be books specifically about citizen science. Use your collection again to broaden the understanding of different related subject matters, whether it's the pollinating insects, birds, mammals, or beekeeping, or if it's, again, biodiversity, there's books on biodiversity that may not mention citizen science, but certainly will provide a great foundation for understanding why biodiversity is important. We also have some great books that we suggest, one by our the SciStarter co-founder Darlene and some of her co-writers, called The Field Guide to Citizen Science. Have a book discussion around that book. And, you know, if you use digital download services, you can also get those books out in that way. So you could even have a virtual book discussion using your digital download, or if you have enough copies of a book, have, you know, face-to-face book discussion. Then to answer your question, programming. One of the coolest things we did at our library was we had a BioBlitz. A BioBlitz supports the iNaturalist project, or in our case, exploring biodiversity. And as Tara mentioned, you can have auxiliary kits. So you may have a kit that you circulate or not, and you may have an additional kit with a bunch of binoculars in it. And maybe even digital cameras that you allow users to take out during a BioBlitz, which means you're going out into a certain area over a certain period of time to record the natural things you see, whether it's an insect, a fungus, a plant, a mammal, a bird. And then that information is uploaded into iNaturalist for everybody to see. Now, BioBlitz does require through iNaturalist that you define it as an event, but it's fairly easy to do, and it can be done with the library. And I would encourage you to get community people to help you, like, you know, maybe biology students at the high school or local university, community college, maybe people involved in your parks who are knowledgeable about biodiversity. Have those people come along and help with spotting and identifying these living organisms that you have. But that is one way you can have a library sponsored event. Luckily, my library had a riparian preserve, a park behind it. So we just literally walk steps from the library. But if you can meet somewhere at a park, you could also support a BioBlitz. iNaturalist does have resources to better explain BioBlitzes, but that's just one example of how you could do that.
That's a great point, Robin. So I think there's two key points here. The first is that you don't need to have these kits in order to engage your communities in citizen science. Many of the projects on SciStarter, like that Alzheimer's research project, is a computer-based project. So there's other ones that the library computers can really be the tool that helps to make the projects more accessible. I think the second point, which is what Darlene made, is that many of these projects you can do collect the data right there on site, like monitoring air quality or counting pollinators, or the iNaturalist project. So thinking about doing an event that you can use those materials, or I know in the past too, Robin, you've talked about some like a rain gauge at the library, or there's some other tools that can be stationary. Darlene said, or I think Teresa said, a stationary place to take observations over time. So there are other projects on SciStarter that can support more of that stationary based observation, but even the air quality kit, I think, can be used right there on site. So thank you for those comments in the chat. Other questions? These are really good questions.
I'll also plug another resource here. So we have done we did about, I want to say 4 or 5 webinars last year, one that focused on kits. And then there were some other webinars that also focused on programming, how to plan for Citizen Science Month. So what kind of programming, there were great programming ideas in that webinar. We also did a webinar in April, which Tara mentioned, that was focused on libraries and what they're doing. There were some examples there of programming. So we'll share a link to our YouTube playlist where you can watch webinars from last year. And then we will also be doing webinars coming up this year, this kind of programming year as well, and talking about some of these things that are coming up, like programming tied to these kits and to citizen science in general, and working with community-based organizations, working with project scientists, things like that. So
I just want to show you how you can access the library playlist. If you go to the SciStarter YouTube page and then go to playlists, and then right here is SciStarter Library Network. On this, you'll see all of the past, you can see all of the other, here on the side, all of the other webinars. So introducing citizen science in libraries was the first webinar that we did. And then celebrating Citizen Science Month, planning for Citizen Science Month. So check that out for additional professional development. Let me go back to the screen. Sorry, here now.
Lynn asked if we are sending out a link to the slides after the webinar. Absolutely. We will send a follow-up email after our call today that will include a link to a PDF of the slides. We'll have a link to the recording of today's webinar. And then we'll also have a list of all of these different links we've been adding to the chat so that you can access them as well.
Yes, great questions. Thank you all. So just wrapping up, I want to just plug our next webinar, which is Planning for Citizen Science Month on February 1st in 2023, which is coming up shortly. And Citizen Science Month is a month-long celebration of citizen science. It is taking place virtually, it's taking place in person, it's taking place at libraries, at community centers, all across the country. And it really is you all that make Citizen Science Month possible. So if you're hosting a Citizen Science Month event during the month of April, we want you to upload that event onto the SciStarter event listing so that we can kind of see all of the amazing things, even if it's just for your own community. It is a celebration of citizen science, and we're going to have some great things happening that month. But in order to plan for Citizen Science Month, if you want to put on an event, either a virtual event or an in-person event, a BioBlitz like Robin talked about, or a star party, and then going out and observing the night sky, lots of different examples, come to that Planning for Citizen Science Month webinar. There is a recording of last year, but we're going to have some revamped resources this year, including a guide to planning for Citizen Science Month. So I would suggest joining us, or at least registering for the webinar. Anybody that registers for our webinars automatically gets all the resources sent to them. But of course, they'll be online as well. All right, any questions? And before you all hop off, we are going to put a link to the survey for today in the chat. Please, please, please complete that. We really, really love your feedback. We do this for you, for the libraries, because we love working with libraries. You're incredible resources for your community, and we're here to support you. And so this is a way of getting that feedback and making those changes to make this program even more possible and more tailored to you all. So please complete that. And any additional questions, drop them in the chat. We can hang around for another 2-3 minutes. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, everyone. If you don't have time for the survey now, we'll also send it in the follow-up email. And if you can take it later today, tomorrow, or next week even, we would love that. So thanks.
Thanks, everyone.